Okay, today we are, thank you for watching this video. Today we are going to talk about verbs of perception, okay? In other words, what you see, what you feel, what you hear, things like that. So today we are going to talk about verbs of perception. There are two kinds of verbs of perception. We are only going to talk about one kind today, all right? And we're going to use some Chinese because it's easier to understand it if I use Chinese a little bit. Bad Chinese, right? I told you before, if you want to speak good English, learn to speak bad Chinese. All right, and I will show you what I mean now. Okay, so verbs of perception, that's what it's called, okay? 感官, 动词, whatever, okay? So verbs of perception. We are going to ignore this, okay? So first, I'm going to differentiate and tell you the difference between the two kinds. And then we're going to do one kind and ignore the second kind for another video. So I'm going to tell you what we're not going to talk about today. We are not going to talk about this. Okay? We're not going to talk about this kind, okay? Which is a little bit more complicated, 比较复杂. So I want you to notice that first. We're not talking about this kind, okay? In other words, we're not talking about this thing called the object-oriented verbs of perception. That's not important. It doesn't matter what you call it. You call it apples and bananas. I don't care. The point is you have to know how to do it. We're not. So you can read this by yourself. Okay. We're not talking about this. Okay. Where the subject of the sentence is not doing anything. I'll give you an example. Just kind of scratch the surface a little bit. When I say Mimi looks happy, Mimi doesn't do anything. Okay. She's not doing anything. She's just standing there. Okay. The verb looks is not talking about her. Okay. It's talking about how I feel, how I see her. Okay. She's just standing there and I'm saying she looks happy. She could be riding a horse, but she's not doing the looking. I am doing the looking. She looks happy. Okay. I look at her and she looks happy. We're not talking about that kind of verbs of perception. So I'm going to black this out. I'm going to make this gray, okay? Because we're not talking about this today. Okay, we're not talking about this today. We're talking about the simpler kind. Okay, we're only going to talk about this today. Okay, we're going to talk about this today. The green part, okay, which is called the subject-oriented verbs of perception. In other words, these verbs really talk about what the subject, what the 主词, the subject is doing, okay? And that keeps it very simple because you, the 读者, okay? You, the speaker, okay? Are not doing anything, all right? You're not doing anything. It is a subject. It is the person in the sentence doing it. You are not in the story, okay? You are not in the sentence, okay? So that's very important to understand that sometimes the speaker is in the sentence and sometimes the speaker is completely absent, 完全不在 in the sentence, as in the following examples. Okay, so here it is. We're talking about this. Remember that, okay? From the subject, from the 主词, the subject's point of view, from the subject's angle. Let's see. For example, Mimi sees a bug. Okay. Who sees a bug? Who sees a bug? Mimi does. You see, Mimi is the subject. So Mimi sees a bug. I'm just saying that she sees a bug. All right. I am not. Daniel, I am not in this sentence. I am totally non-existent in this sentence. I don't exist in this sentence. Okay. So that is the first thing that you have to recognize, the 意思, right? The speaker the 读者, the person talking and the person thinking, you are not doing anything. Mimi is doing something. Okay, all right. So Mimi sees a bug. All right. So what does that mean? It just means that let me see. Mimi 看到一只虫. Very good. Okay. So Mimi sees a bug, right? Yes. It could be Mimi sees a bug now. Remember, we said that long ago. We said that the 现在式, the present tense, can be used to talk about now. It is possible, right? Yes. That becomes important later. I will show you. All right. Mimi sees a bug. It could be Mimi sees a bug now. It could be Mimi sees a bug every day. Right? It could be Mimi sees a bug on the flower. Right? It could be Mimi sees a bug on a flower. What did I erase it? In her house, in her garden, every day. What am I saying? I'm saying it's just a normal sentence that you would say about any verb, right? Yes? You know, you can say Mimi sees a bug where and when, right? 地方, 时间, right? It's just a sentence like every sentence, okay? You can change it to past tense. You can change it to past tense. Right? But remember, if you do that, you have to change the time to past tense, right? Mimi saw a bug on a flower in her garden yesterday. It is just a normal sentence, all right? That's all, all right? So in other words, what we're talking about today is the simpler, the easier 感官动词 in the sense that it's just a sentence, all right? But there are some 文法, grammatical things that you have to watch out for. For example, all right, so Mimi saw a bug on a flower in a garden yesterday. Okay, so here we're going to talk about some grammatical rules that you have to follow. For example, you can say Mimi sees a bug. Okay, the same as the previous example, but then you can say Mimi sees a bug eat leaves. And this is the special thing about this kind of sentence. In other words, you could say Mimi sees a bug eat leaves. Okay, she sees a bug do something. What does a bug do? Eat leaves. Okay, Mimi sees a bug eat leaves. Leaves, of course, are 叶子, right? Okay, so leaves, of course, are 叶子. No. 树叶. Thank you. All right. So Mimi sees a bug eat leaves, which means almost exactly the same as Mimi sees a bug eating leaves. Okay. They are almost exactly the same meaning. So that's it, basically. Okay. So you can say Mimi sees a bug, or Mimi sees a bug eat leaves, or Mimi sees a bug eating leaves. These are the requirements for the 文法 over here, okay? Either eat or eating, okay? So in other words, either the 原形 or the 现在分词. That's it, okay? That's all you got to know. That's it, all right? So that's all the grammatical complexity, okay, 复杂 of this sentence. That's all right? There are small differences which are not important, okay? In certain 情形, certain situations, they are different, but usually they're 90% of the time they're the same. So just think of them as the same. What I'm saying is, Mimi sees a bug eat leaves. It is exactly the same as Mimi sees a bug eating leaves. It's just that this one has a little bit of the 强调意思, right? Okay. So this one a little bit is spoken with some emphasis, 强调. So I should do this, 强调, huh? So this, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Let me do that again. The 强调 part isn't the whole sentence. It is this part only. Okay, here. So Mimi sees a bug eating leaves. When you say eating leaves, it's like you're saying that, you're just 强调, emphasizing that Mimi sees a bug eating leaves, that the bug was eating leaves or is eating leaves, okay, at the time that she saw it, okay? So it's just a little bit of 强调的意思. That's it, okay? I will tell you the difference, okay, between this one, let's call this A, and this one, let's call it B, all right? I will tell you the difference, okay? All right, so why is B so small? Interesting, okay, but so you would be required, 一定要说 this one, B, if your sentence is 进行式, right? Yes? And I can't do that right now because I can't do 进行式 for C, all right? I cannot say Mimi is seeing a bug, all right? Yes? And I will show you, so I will show you the difference with what looks at, all right? So let's review. Mimi saw a bug, Mimi sees a bug, and I can say Mimi sees a bug eat leaves, or Mimi sees a bug eating leaves. Okay, let's continue to the next one. All right. All right. Oh, let's go back. I'm sorry. Same thing, just to make sure that you understand. I can change this to past tense also, right? Yes, and I can change this to future tense if I wanted to. Okay, right? This, although the future tense sounds a little bit strange, yeah, because future tenses are just naturally strange because you're like 预测 something, right? Okay, all right. So, same thing. The point is they are just normal sentences that you already know. Let's look at the second example. Another 感官动词, another verb of perception that relates to your eyes is look at, right? Notice it's not look, it's look at. Don't forget the at. Do not forget look at, the at in look at. Okay, very important, okay? So Mimi looks at a flower. What does that mean? Yes, it means that Mimi sees a flower, but she is looking at it more carefully, okay, right? So it would kind of mean like Mimi 看一朵花. No, Mimi 看见一朵花. And then, okay, so no, not 看见. I just said 看见 to get the computer to say, to give me 看, huh? Right? So 看见 and 看到, as you know, has a different meaning from just 看, right? Okay, so there's the same difference as 看见看到, see, and 看, look at. Okay, all right. So Mimi looks at a flower. All right, yes. So she looks at a flower more carefully than she would if she saw a flower, right? Okay, all right. Again, following the same idea, I can say that she looks at flowers bloom. I changed flowers, a flower to flowers, okay? All right, so she looks at flowers bloom. By the way, bloom means 开花. Very good. All right, so she looks at flowers bloom. Well, what does that mean? It just means she looks at flowers blooming. Notice here is the 原形 or the ing. What does that tell you? They are the same thing. It's just that the ing, the 现在分子, it's more of a 强调, right? Yes, it's sort of you're emphasizing. Yes, when she looked at the flower was blooming. Okay, if that makes sense at all, because you really can't see the flower blooming, right? All right, but anyway, and again, I can change it to past tense. Okay. Yes. Or I can change. I can add. I can add a time after the sentence. Okay. I can add a place. Right. I can look. I can add a place. Right. It's just a sentence. It's a normal sentence. Okay. Right. But the special part of it is that you can add. She looked at something bloom, the 原形 verb or the ing verb after the 感官动词. Okay. And that is the only thing. But I promised you to tell you the difference between A and B when I told you there's really no difference other than 强调, but there is a small difference. What I mean by that is if the only difference, not the only difference, the difference would come when you have something like this. If I am talking about 进行式, if I'm talking about Mimi, let's say if I said Mimi right now is looking at. Now you are forced to say flowers blooming. Okay. I wouldn't say you're forced to do it, but it is better to do it. Okay. So here, all right. So because here is 进行式 also, here also you have to use the ing. All right. So that would be the only, not the only, but one of the situations where you would have to use, it is better to use the blooming instead of bloom. Okay. Whoops. What happened? So in this case, it is better to use blooming instead of bloom. Okay. So not that bloom would be wrong, it's that this is better. Okay, that would make a difference there. Okay, good. Another example would be make a difference if it were some kind of two sentences together happening at the same time, 同时发生, that kind of thing, right? Yes. All right. So it would be like, Mimi was looking. Again, was looking is also a kind of 进行式, 只是过去进行, right? It's a past progressive, right? So Mimi was looking at flowers blooming when her mom called her. I don't know. Something like that. And then in sentences such as these, it would be better to use the ing. Okay. All right. Because you're using it with 进行式. So basically, anything that you use with 进行式, right? It is better to use the ing, the 现在分词, after the 感官动词. Okay, that is the general rule. Because what we want to do is we want to have 规则 that's easy to remember. I don't want to tell you 10 规则, right? It's easier to kind of remember one or two 原则 and then just go by that. And of course, within the 原则, there are little details. But those little details are not so important, right? Know the big 原则 first, and then deal with the details later. Okay, so let's go back. So these 感官动词, okay, just think about all your senses. You can see, you can smell, you can taste, you can hear, and you can feel. Feel can be the outside feel or the feel inside your heart feel. Okay, so those are the verbs of perception that we are talking about today, that we talked about today. And they are very simple because they are just like normal sentences. The only thing is that either they following the 感官动词, the verb of perception, you have to either use the 原形, okay, right, the original form, or the ing form of the verb, and that's all. Okay, and there is a little bit difference between saying it this way and saying it this way, and the difference really is just 强调. A is just 一般, B is 强调, right? Yes, they're emphasizing that she will see a bug eating leaves, right? Okay. All right. So, and also remember, these verbs can take on pretty much, basically, every 时态, with the exception of C. C cannot take on 进行式 without changing its meaning. When C 题外话了哈, when C takes on 进行式, 它意思会变, it changes its meaning, right? All right, that's all. We will talk about the rest in class today, okay? And then we can do some exercises and practice questions. Remember to know the difference. We're talking about only this part, not this part. This part is a little bit more complicated. This is actually quite easy, okay? So let's remember the difference. There are two kinds of 感官动词. If you read a different book, they call this thing something else. It doesn't matter what you call it. There are two kinds, okay? All right. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.